going to start talking about the Friday bell ringer, and so I'm just curious if you could rate yourself on your ability to write an effective claim. I noticed a lot of people turning in those claims from the last Friday bell work. Woohoo, good job. So quickly rate yourself. Good job. Okay, so let's look at what the prompt was. It said, should an artist get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else? It should only be one sentence long. So let's look at this first one. Should you get permission before copying a photo? Yes, yes, and yes. Not doing so is against the law. However, if you are changing a photo or editing it, then at that point it is fair use and you have every right to use that said photo. So as you can see, that is not one sentence, but that doesn't mean it's a total waste. You could use it to start a body paragraph or use it within your body paragraph. So there's great ideas there that still can be used, just not as your claim. Next, an artist should get permission before doing anything with someone else's photo. So there we have the argument stated, and you'll notice up here it kind of follows the prompt verbatim. And next we're going to have the evidence, because otherwise they would be infringing on the person who owns the photo's copyright. And they were able to put it all in one sentence. So good claim. Next, do not answer the prompt with a yes, no, or I think. Remember, you've got to state that argument clearly. So when it says yes, because why should you take someone else's work for your own, or yes, you should get permission, these really, in essence, plus this one's a question, but these ones really, in essence, are opinions and not arguments. So make sure that you're restating that prompt, forming that argument. An effective claim clearly states the argument. Also, the other thing to notice about this one, no painting a photograph you see on the internet should not be called plagiarism. The reason I have that highlighted is because you'll notice in our prompt, it doesn't say anything about plagiarism up there, right? So this is already taking a leap. It didn't ask if it should be called plagiarism. It asked, should an artist get permission before copying a photo? So it needs to say, as you'll see in the example below, an artist should an artist rewrite it as a statement, an artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. So there it is, the argument is clearly stated, and then the student uses because to link that argument with the evidence, because it is what is ethically right and fair, and if they didn't, that would be considered stealing. So good argument. Good claim. An effective claim provides evidence to support the argument. So if you'll notice this example, it says, yes, you should get permission before taking someone else's artwork, but it doesn't have any reasons. There isn't evidence. And the same with this next one. An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else and make it their own. Well, why? So we need to know. This is stating the argument's position, right? But it is not providing the evidence to make it a complete claim. Let's look at this last example. Artists should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else in order to avoid stealing and plagiarism. So does this look like a complete claim? Yes. It states the argument clearly and it has supporting evidence. An effective claim should stay focused, specific, and relevant. So an artist should be able to paint a creative picture or photograph he or she desires. A person should not have to get permission to express their free speech. If they are making a profit off it, then there might be argument, but otherwise people should be able to create whatever they want. People have the right to express themselves and to create any art they desire. Okay, so although this is an excellent piece, that certainly does belong in the paper and would probably do really well in one of the body paragraphs. As a claim, remember it needs to stay very focused, specific, and relevant. So you want to really tighten it up. Okay, so let's look at this next example. Artists should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else, and here's that focused, specific, and relevant evidence in order to avoid stealing and plagiarism. So it's very simple, very straightforward, okay? Very concise. That's what we're looking for. We should be able to pull up the paragraph, the first paragraph of an argument paper, and we should be able to identify the writer's claim easily. So let's practice rewriting this claim. As copying something is illegal, an artist should get permission and credit the original photographer. So just take a second real quick on your computer, jot it down. How would you rewrite this claim so that it was complete? You can pause the video. The first thing you're going to want to do is state the argument clearly. So it should say an artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else, because you need to restate this. Should an artist get permission? An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else, before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. So pull it directly from the prompt. And then remember, when you add that evidence, to stay focused. Okay, so here we go. Because copying someone else's work without permission infringes on the original artist's copyrights and ownership of their intellectual property. That's just my example. Okay, go back to this beginning part where it says copying something is legal. So we could rewrite this as an artist should get the permission because copying is illegal. How about that? So that would work too. There's never one way to do it. Those are just some examples. So what is this claim missing? An artist should try to get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. If they can't get permission or don't have a way to contact the person that took the photo, then the artist should make sure that they give credit for the photo to the person who took it. So what's missing in here? Read it closely. It's pretty lengthy and detailed, isn't it? But this claim is still missing the evidence, okay? And so basically it's missing the evidence because it's saying what to do if you can't get the permission, okay? It's not giving evidence as to why you need to get permission. It's telling what to do if you couldn't. So that's why. Do you know how to use a semicolon? Okay, so I notice a lot that students have some difficulty putting two ideas together to form a sentence. So I wanted to talk about using a semicolon. Okay, it joins two independent clauses. So I just kind of giggle because I'm sure that plenty of you probably don't know what an independent clause is, but I learned it in high school and I've never forgotten it. So anything that could stand alone independently as a sentence is an independent clause. So the way that you can tell if something's an independent clause is just to read it out loud and see if it's a sentence, a complete thought that makes sense. So is this an independent clause? An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else. Yes, it can stand alone as a sentence. We put a capital and period at the end and read it out loud. It's a sentence. It makes sense. It's a complete thought. Could this stand alone as a sentence? Using someone's photo without permission is copyright infringement. So if we go ahead and add our punctuation, capital letter at the beginning, period at the end, yes, it could stand alone as a sentence. It's an independent clause. So if we put those two together, an artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. And using someone's photo without permission is copyright infringement. Two independent clauses together. Can we just put them together using a comma? No, because they're two independent thoughts and they need to be standing alone as sentences, right? So no. But there are a few ways that we could correct this, okay? So you can add a period and capitalize the second sentence. So this is what we saw happening before, where they're just treated like two separate sentences, right? But there's another way that we can work with this issue. We could also add a comma and the conjunction because, right? So an artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else because using someone's photo without permission is copyright infringement. And I think that most of us are pretty savvy with that sentence structure right there and are pretty capable of using it. Okay, but the semicolon does another option for us. We can just take those two independent clauses that would normally stand alone as sentences, and we can join them together with a simple semicolon. When you do that, you don't want to capitalize the using, okay, because now it's part of the same sentence, okay? So let's read it. An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else. Using someone's photo without permission is copyright infringement. So the two thoughts are closely linked enough that that second concept is really just emphasizing the first. So let's go ahead and take a look at those three sentences, the way that they're punctuated. And I just want you to think about, which one do you find to be most succinct? Like, which one would you use? Okay, now obviously if you're writing a claim, the first one's not an option, right? Because it's got to be one sentence. You've got to pick this one or that one. But just in general terms, if you were just using these sentences in a paragraph, you could certainly use them separately. But when you are trying to create some variety in your sentences, that's when having this other tool, the semicolon, can help you to do that, okay? But just don't overuse it. I also wanted to show you a non-example of using a semicolon, so you would not want to do this. An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else. Painting a picture takes a lot longer than just snapping a picture. So why wouldn't you use a semicolon here? Well, because these are two totally different ideas, okay? Painting a picture takes a lot longer than snapping a picture does not really emphasize this point, does it? It's kind of an idea that's just like, whoa, that's a little out there. Maybe that could come into play at some point in a paper, but it doesn't belong in my claim, right? So use a semicolon to join these two independent clauses and form a sentence. You can go ahead and pause the video right now and think about how that would look. Okay, and so now that it is a complete sentence, okay, so I've placed my semicolon here, it's a complete sentence. Is it an effective claim? So let's read it for comprehension and find out. An artist should try to get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. If they can't get permission or don't have a way to contact the person that took the photo, then the artist should make sure that they give credit for the photo to the person who took it. So is it an effective claim? We kind of covered this one already, so I just wanted to check to make sure that you got it. It's not a claim because remember, that second clause didn't provide any evidence to support that argument in that first clause. It simply says what to do if this artist can't get permission, okay? So that's why it wasn't an effective claim. So remember, an effective claim states the argument clearly, and it provides focused, specific, and relevant evidence, and we have a winner this week. This was the best claim submitted. Artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else in order to avoid stealing and plagiarism. Very simple, very specific, relevant, focused, concise, clear. I could find that in the opening paragraph of an argument paper easily. So now that the lesson's complete, I know that was a lot. Hopefully you were able to hang in there with me mentally. Do you feel more confident about writing a claim? So rate yourself. And I did use your student examples, and I want to thank you for making mistakes. That might have felt embarrassing, but we all learn from mistakes, okay? So if you'd all written perfect claims for me, how would the people who weren't writing perfect claims have anything to learn? So a life of mistake making is a life of learning. Just remember not to keep making the same mistakes over and over. Learn from them. So the goals for this Friday's bell ringer, okay. 100% of the students who complete this critique will write an effective claim. So that's what I'm hoping for. We want to practice the KISS strategy, and that is to keep it super simple, okay? As Leonardo da Vinci, I guess. I'm not sure if he actually said this or not, but I did Google and find that somewhere believes that Leonardo said simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. It does sound like something he might say, but I don't really know. I didn't check my sources, so I wouldn't trust me. Rules with Friday bell ringers. Okay, so here's what to think about with those Friday bell ringers. One, you need to write only one sentence, okay, to get credit. Two, you need to clearly state your argument, okay? So take whatever that prompt is and use that prompt verbatim to write your argument. Provide evidence, okay? Be very concise, focused, specific, okay? And then bell ringers will only be open for 1 week. Okay, so these bell ringers are going to close out after the week. You won't be able to go back and do them. So make sure at some point in the week that you do get your bell ringers done, there won't be any makeups after they're closed. Okay, and the reason why is because just the logistics of these Google documents, it's really just not easy for me to go in every single day to Google Docs and go, okay, did anybody submit one today? I can't do that week after week after week. So I'm going to have to hold you guys to this really high standard of getting those bell ringers done within the week to get your credit.